Hey, 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 happy Monday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, August 2nd, 2021. This is live stream 682. Tonight, I am actually going to be taking a first look at Oathmark, which is a miniature system from Osprey Games. So we're going to look at the core book here. This is the core rule book, as well as the Bane of Kings expansion. Both of these are from Osprey Games. So if this is your first time joining me, let me point out that this is super, super casual. Just hanging out, talking about tabletop games. So what I do is about the first half of the show is devoted to the latest in tabletop gaming news, while the second half, I normally will take a first look at a tabletop game. So that's what we got cooking tonight. So if you are tuning in to check out the first look at Oathmark, kick back, relax for a bit, enjoy yourselves. We will get to it in just a bit. If you are watching after the fact, maybe even on Memorex, there are show notes, there are timestamps for you to jump right to it if you don't want to catch up with what's going on in the latest tabletop gaming news. So, of course, also want to mention, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live right here on YouTube, it'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Pathfinder Lost Omens, the Moangai Expanse. That's right, yes, I did my review of the newest region guide for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. If you dig Pathfinder, if you are a Pathfinder game master, you might want to take a peek. Also, should point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Of course, this is a live stream, so that means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, or maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. So far tonight, we've got the Madman. That's right, the Madman's in the house. And John Vogel has joined us as well. So, welcome, gents. Let's jump right on into the news. Flaming Heron has popped in. Flaming Heron is also one of our chat moderators. So both of our chat moderators are here, the Madman and Flaming Heron. As I started to say, let's jump on into the news, because I've got a good amount of news tonight. So first off, arriving in stores this week from Exploding Kittens is Exploding Minions. Oh, wait a second. This news piece is in the wrong order. All right, so hitting stores next spring. I knew something wasn't right. I knew it. Taking a look at the way I had all the news laid out, I'm like, what doesn't fit here? Something's wrong. And I thought, no, everything's all right. Anyway, hitting stores next spring from Osprey Games is Cryptid Urban Legends. Here's the scoop. This is a tense and competitive asymmetric deduction game for 2 players designed by Ruth Weavers and Hal Duncan and illustrated, I should say, by Kwanchai Moria. There's something hiding among us, a creature hitherto undiscovered, prowling our very streets. If you track it down, well, that'd be the discovery of the century. Play as a determined scientist manipulating heat, movement, and sonic sensors to scan the city, identify your quarry's true location, and capture them. Or take the role of a cryptid, snaking your way through shadows and back alleys of the metropolis that surrounds you, eliminating all evidence of your existence as you go, desperately avoiding capture. Emerging victorious in this high-stakes cat-and-mouse chase played out across a sprawling urban landscape will require all your ingenuity and foresight. Cryptid Urban Legends is a tense game of competitive deduction reasoning for 2 players from the creators of Cryptid. This spiritual successor recaptures the magic of the critically acclaimed deduction game. With a lot of replayability and at an accessible price point, this 2-player card game offers a great value proposition for players. It's a continuation of Osprey's line of small box game titles such as Village Green, Inkling, and High Society. Cryptid Urban Legends is for, once again, 2 players. Ages 14 and up, plays in 20 to 40 minutes. It is going to carry an MSRP of $30 when it arrives next April. So this is a ways out. But I have to say, I actually was very, very pleasantly surprised by Cryptid. I did review it back in the day when it came out and found it to be a pretty interesting game. I thought it was a very unique deduction game, so I could see why a lot of people really dug it. All right, moving right along, like I started to say, arriving in stores this week from Exploding Kittens is Exploding Minions. Hooray, there it is. Here's the latest. Introducing Exploding Minions. Play the all-new Minions-themed version of your favorite explosive card game, featuring new card types and magical bananas. Exploding Minions is a Minions-powered version of Russian roulette. Players take turns drawing cards until someone draws an exploding minion and loses the game. The deck is made up of cards that let you avoid exploding by peeking at cards before you draw, forcing your opponent to draw multiple cards, or shuffling the deck. The game gets more and more intense with each card you draw because fewer cards left in the deck means a greater chance of drawing the exploding minion. The Minions brings a new game-changing card with them as well that allows players to clone cards. Exploding Minions is for 2 to 5 players, ages 7 and up. Plays in around 15 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $19.99 when it arrives in stores this week. I thought that was kind of cool. I like Exploding Kittens. I don't know how many of you out there have played Exploding Kittens. I know it has been phenomenally popular. And I got to say, if you have been to, well, I got to say, I've only seen it at Gen Con. The Exploding Kittens machine that they have set up, it is hysterical, especially when little kids are involved. It is just brings a huge smile to my face every time I see it. And I've seen it for a couple of shows. So if you have not encountered that, there's got to be somebody with video up of it on YouTube. I know I've posted little video of it on Twitter way back in the day, but yeah, it's pretty funny. So if you or your family are big fans of Despicable Me and the Minions, then this is just certainly something you might want to keep your eyes peeled for. So the Madman says he just played Exploding Kittens 2 weeks ago and had a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a really funny game. I have both editions. I have, well, I don't know, there might be more than two now. I had the standard one that came in the box that you open it up. It was a Kickstarter exclusive and it would meow. Meow. And then I also had I have the not safe for work edition, which isn't really that crazy. All right, moving right along, arriving this fall from Renegade Game Studios is the G.I. Joe deck building game. Here's what I know. Yo, Joe! Fall in! The evil organization Cobra threatens the world with their schemes, and it's up to you to stop them. In this deck building game, you and your fellow players will lead teams of G.I. Joe soldiers on missions to stop Cobra's dastardly plans. Each player starts the game with a meager deck that will grow more powerful as you recruit veterans from the G.I. Joe team, requisition gear, and field new vehicles. This fully cooperative game pits you against increasingly dangerous missions to save the world. This core set begins your journey with everything needed to play, but be prepared for more Joes and missions to come. It features dozens of G.I. Joe heroes and vehicles, 36 unique missions. You can play solo or with friends, and it also includes an expert mode with expert mode cards for even greater challenges. The G.I. Joe deck building game is for 1 to 4 players, ages 13 and up, plays in 30 to 70 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $45 when it arrives in October. Nice. That is very, very cool. I know a lot of people out there are very excited about this. So I'm kind of curious because I didn't notice any mention of it, but I wonder if the artwork is from the IDW publishing G.I. Joe comics. I'm curious, but there was no mention of IDW in the news piece that I've seen. But I wonder if that would be the case, or if it's just all new commissioned art from different artists. Might be. All right, let's move on to some role-playing game news, because Paizo Inc. has teamed up again with Humble Bundle. They're offering a money-saving offer. This time it's on Starfinder. Here's the skinny. Explore the stars, one tabletop grid at a time. Looking for your next tabletop adventure? Look up and turn to the stars. Paizo's Starfinder is the perfect place to lose yourself in excitement, mixing fantasy with sci-fi, resulting in epic adventures through the galaxy and battles both on foot and ship to ship. Blast off into a galaxy of adventure with the Starfinder role-playing game. Step into your powered armor and grab your magic-infused laser rifle as you investigate the mysteries of a weird universe with your bold starship crew. Boldly going where no one has gone before with that bold starship crew. Will you delve for lost artifacts in the ruins of ancient temples? Strap on rune-enhanced armor and a laser rifle to battle undead empires in fleets of bone ships? Or defend colonists from a swarm of ravenous monsters? Maybe you'll hack into the mainframe of a god-run corporation, or search the stars for clues to the secret history of the universe, or brand new planets to explore. Whether you're making first contact with new cultures on uncharted worlds, or fighting to survive in the neon-lit back alleys of Absalom Station, you and your team will need all your wits, combat skill, and magic to make it through. But most of all, you'll need each other. Buy this bundle and get everything you need to enjoy tabletop action in this sci-fi world, with items such as the Starfinder Beginner Box, Starfinder Packed Worlds, Starfinder Adventure Skitter Home, and the Starfinder Packed Worlds hardcover. More on that in just a moment. Plus, your purchase does help support comic books for kids. You can get started for as little as $5, and that $5 will provide you with the core rulebook. Remember, we were talking about a humble bundle last week for 13th Age, and you had to go with the max, I think it was $35, if I remember correctly. And that included the core rule book, which was unusual. It's usually at the first jumping on point, which this one does. You can score all 36 digital offerings for $30, or you can get all of that digital goodness plus the physical Starfighter beginner box and Packed Worlds hardcover for $50. That is a pretty sweet deal. This offer does run through August 17th, and once again, your purchase does help support comic books for kids. So, Flaming Heron says, and Doctor Who? So, Flaming Heron says, probably not as good a deal as the Pathfinder one, but still quite a good one in terms of value. Yeah, a lot of times, and things might be changing too, as far as these, oh, for crying out loud. Ay, ay, ay. Like I said, I knew something was off today. We'll get into it. Basically, what happened is I forgot to save something. Anyway, that's what I was wondering. I saw Flaming Heron say in Doctor Who. I'm like, what? Anyway, usually what we would see is we would normally see things like a humble bundle for a role-playing game, and they'll have like the opening, to get on board is a buck. And I know last time when Pathfinder was up for a humble bundle, I want to say it was like for $1, you got the core rule book, first bestiary, and I think an adventure. All in PDF, obviously, but still, I was like, holy cow, that's a pretty sweet deal. So, moving right along. On the horizon from Cubicle 7 Entertainment is Warhammer 40K Wrath and Glory, Redacted Records Volume 1. Here's the scoop. Confront the perils of the void. Explore the space hulks of the Gilead system. Huge drifting masses of ships welded together by gravity and the flames of the warp, and home to hazard and opportunity in equal measure. Redacted Records 1 takes Wrath and Glory games away from the relative safety of the Gilead system's planets and out into the depths of the void to face unimaginable danger. This magazine-style collection of articles uncovers numerous secrets of the Gilead system, opening up new settings and antagonists for players to explore and confront, and new character options to increase agents' chances of surviving these new and perilous situations. Redacted Records includes insight into the diverse and terrifying space hulks of the Gilead system, from the Chaos Touch Caveat Emptor to the Gene Stealer Infestor Dominus Vobiscum and the Orcish Battleground designated 717.366S/031.562J. There's rules and tables to generate your own Space Hulk, including areas, occupants, events, and salvage. New frameworks for agents from all branches of the Imperium, including the elite Adeptus Astra Telepathica. Dozens of new talents to enrich your Wrath and Glory games, as well as reports on the strange servitor patterns of the Gilead system, including the corrupted butcher servitors of the Albator of the Luminous Emperor. Dossiers on some of the sinister cults of Vacris and Netheris to further imperil your agents. Right now, there's no page count or release date for Redacted Records Volume 1, but it should be available for download pretty soon. I would think within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So when it does arrive in PDF, I'm sure this is something either late in the year or early 2022 for the physical copy. But we should see the PDF, I would think, 2-3 weeks. And of course, I will make sure to have a news piece on the website that'll tell you more about it. All right. Finally, available in print and PDF for the Mürkberg role-playing game is the Masticator Gate from SkeletonKey Games. Here's the dope. A complete campaign for the world's darkest role-playing game, featuring 3 linked adventures, new monsters and hazards, eldritch relics, cults, demons, body horror, accentuation, self-mutilation, execution, and a new character class. For some reason, that just makes me laugh because it's like horrible, 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 and a new character class. Play to completion, this campaign has enough content for 5 to 7 sessions of play at 20 or more total hours. The creatures, relics, character class, and other content can obviously be reused indefinitely and infinitely. And there is a guide for extending the campaign using other published material. The Masticator Gate campaign does require the use of the Endless Demon deck, which is also available from SkeletonKey Games. This 74-page premium hardcover is available from Drive-Thru RPG for $34.99. You can score it in PDF for $17.99. And I do see that JP Falconer Honor, JPF, has arrived. Yes, he's like, hey, your opening music started playing. Yes, because I jumped back to the open for me, not thinking, oh, wait. So I wanted to do something like this, but I was in the middle of the news, so I had to jump back, and I actually clicked on the opening that actually has the music that starts playing. I don't know. It's just a weird show so far. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like if it could go wrong, it'll go wrong, which is not true. Because if that was the case, the stream would drop. The frame rate would be like all choppy. Anyway, let's go back to that news piece for a second because I did want to mention, and I see this a lot with Mürkberg, but I am seeing a carryover into some OSR, which I guess some people feel that Mürkberg is OSR. I don't know. I'm up in the air. I'm kind of sort of. To me, it's like new SR. But Flaming Heroes as well. I got a few days to perfect it. Yeah, like I haven't done 681 live streams prior to this one. Just Mondays tend to be kind of weird, especially doing just 2 shows, because there's like so much time between the Wednesday show and the next Monday show. Anyway, I was going to say that we're seeing it. These are getting to be pretty pricey, and I get it. I understand. There's a lot of artwork. In fact, we just saw, in fact, we're seeing it right now. It's a layout of, okay, so these are a lot of the pages of this book. You see that there's a lot of art. Only thing is, it's 74 pages. Look at all that artwork. How much gameable material is in this book? So I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from picking this up. It looks very interesting. That's why I'm sharing it. But I do think that we are starting to really see a lot of companies just, 74 pages, $17.99 for the PDF. That to me, that's not a deal. Anytime that it's more than 10 cents a page for a digital product, I'm kind of like, Anyway, speaking of Drive-Thru RPG, though, of course, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, I don't know, Drive-Thru RPG, be sure to stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep the Gaming Gang around. So Flaming Heron's asking, is the book also a smaller one? I would assume that it is also, I would take a guess, it's probably digest sized. I don't know if it's A5 sized, but I would take a stab that kind of looked like it's a digest sized book, like Mirkberg is. So, don't know. All right. So before we jump in and start taking a look at Oathmark tonight, did want to mention a couple of things. First off, week 1 of the game auction has come to an end. Big thank you to everybody out there who took part. We've got the Madman. We also have Michael and Sean and Bane. And who was the other person? Oh, yeah, it was. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. Working everything out. The packages should go out. They'll probably go out no later than Thursday. So they will ship out no later than the Thursday. Here, the weird thing I'm running across is, for some strange reason, it's like the post office doesn't do just regular old shipping anymore. And I kind of noticed this when I sent something about 2 months ago. It was like, what do you mean it's got to be sent priority? Don't you have just regular, like, flat rate? And they were like, yeah, that's priority. I was like, well, what is the cheapest shipping? And they were like, priority. I was like, all right, fine. It's very strange. It's like they're, because I was going on to check the shipping costs to forward them on to the winning bidders. And it's like every single one is like, they don't offer. Some of them weren't even offering media mail, which I wouldn't use media mail anyway, because I can't. Yeah, even if it's role-playing game books, that is not media mail. And what happens is, if the post office decides to open that up and they see it's not media mail, from what I understand, the person who receives the package is the one who has to shell out the dough. So Flaming Heron says, glad to see somebody picked up the Adventures in Middle-earth books. Yes, that was a smoking deal. Even though for the 4 books, it was $270 as the opening bid. But if you looked on eBay, the 2 region books were selling for anywhere from $150 to $200. So that was a pretty good deal. Do want to mention week 2 has begun. It started yesterday. Got more GMT war games. I've got more role-playing game stuff. I've got more just regular board games as well. It's a nice mixture of different items that are out there for you to check out. Once again, keep in mind that every year I do an auction, and every year it's normally where I would go to Gen Con. I would just load up a bunch of boxes, bring a bunch of the games that I'm looking to find new homes for, and that effectively pretty much pays for the operation of the gaming gang for much of the next year. Well, no auction at Gen Con this year. So, and there was no Gen Con last year. So that's why I do this as well. So the Madman's like, already checking out the games for week 2. Well, Madman, I have not shipped your box out yet. So if there is something that you see, I'm going to have like 5 or 6 weeks of auctions. So I don't know if, somebody wants to wait until like week 6 for me to ship something out. But if there's something in week 2 that you see and you want to be like, okay, I'll wait. Then yeah, by all means, I'll be more than happy to combine them. So Sarah D has popped out. Hello, Sarah. Says, yes, the recipient must pay the extra postage or it gets returned to the sender for media mail that is not media mail. Because I know I've had people tell me before, they're like, oh, yeah, could I send that? Why don't you just send that media mail? And I'm like, I can't. It's a game. I can't send a game media mail. Media mail is supposed to be, and maybe Sarah can like clear this one up. I don't know. Is Sarah a nurse or does she work for the United States Postal Service or what? Because remember, I said I got this like gurgling, like little gurgling feeling. And Sarah said, well, maybe it's the all the inflammation in that, receding, and some I actually had a nurse tell me the same thing. Said, well, it could be all the swelling in that. It's starting to go away. Like, that's kind of weird. Somebody in chat on my live stream said that too. Anyway, so Sarah also points out if the item is over 13 ounces, first class is no longer an option. Flat rate is only for priority. Yep. And I already did this for 8 hours, so I'll stop. So there you go. So now we know Sarah is affiliated in some way with the U.S. Postal Service. All righty. So, hi, Sarah. Good to see you hanging out with us tonight. And yes, as the Madman points out, Mr. Eddie T might be floating around too. So Sarah says her mother had open heart surgery in October and was helping take care of her and just knows these things. Very cool. Very nice. Oddly enough, my sister-in-law's dad is going to have I think it's a triple bypass. I know it's a bypass on Friday up in Michigan. And there's a lot of concern because he has many health issues. So pulling for him and send him a wise ass get well card already. So anyway, so we got the auction. So I want to point that out. Next up, I went for my orientation for my cardiovascular rehab. And if you have followed the gaming gang, well, especially if you followed the live show since kind of the beginning, which I know there's a few people out there who have, and I don't know, they must be gluttons for punishment or something. But I went to cardiovascular rehab before when I had a stent put in. Of course, now it's different. Now it's follow up on a triple bypass. So it was funny. I walked in there and one of the nurses who had been there when I originally did it was there. And she's like, Jeff McAleer. Oh, I am so excited. Cause I would tell stories all the time. I cause I listen to podcasts and all different stuff. So one of the nurses was really into ghosts and that. So I've got some good, real, true ghost stories, some stuff that's actually happened to me and my brother and Elliot. And then I've other like bizarre stuff. Like I'll listen to lore. I don't know if anybody out there listens to that podcast. I really enjoy it. And it's always usually oddball stuff, right? Weird, paranormal kind of things. So I'd always like recap like the latest episode of lore. So she's like, oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm like, no offense, but I don't want to be here. Especially why I have to be there. What led to me going. So anyway, we're gonna find out, see what happens. I've kind of switched up my my time. It was supposed to be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday at 2. And for this week and into next week, I'll be going at 2. And then I'm going to make it earlier, 10:45, simply because I'm just a little concerned. Getting out of there at 3:00, then making it back here, making dinner for, my dad and everything, and getting ready to make sure the show's done. I don't know. So, Omanal's joined us. Good to see you, Omanal. So, Flaming Hero says, yeah, I said the same as I was leaving, not to be cruel. Yes, I basically said that when I finished up my cardiovascular rehab the first time. I was like, hey, thanks, everybody. But I really don't want to see you folks again. Although I stopped in once a few months later to say hello because I was in the area. All right. Anyway, let's jump on in because we are going to be taking a peek tonight at Oathmark, which is from Osprey Games. It's written by Joseph A. McCullough with artwork provided by Ralph Horsley, Jan Pospisil. I know I got that wrong. And Mark Stacy. This 192-page hardcover is available for $35. You can get the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $24.50. We're also going to look at the expansion, Oathmark Bane of Kings. It's also written by Joseph A. McCullough with artwork provided by Alan Lathwell. This 80-page softcover is available for $25, or you can get the PDF from DriveThruRPG for $20. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here we've got Oathmark, Battles of the Lost Age. I got to say that Joseph A. McCullough does a lot of miniatures systems for Osprey Games. This is what, number 3 or 4? I know it's at least 3. Plus, he's got another one, which I think is now through Modiphius, if I remember correctly. And that is Rangers of the Shadow Deep, I think it is. All right, so we'll just take a quick peek here at the back. So it says, empires have fallen and the land is broken. The great oathmarks that once stood as testaments to the allegiances and might of nations have crumbled into ruin. In this lost age, fealty and loyalty are as valuable as gold and as deadly as cold iron, and war is ever present. I'm not going to read the rest of it. Let's jump on in, taking a peek. So one of the things that I find interesting about Osprey Games producing miniatures rules, which they tend to support their miniature systems pretty well. I find it interesting because for people who play or paint historical miniatures, Osprey has been a go-to company for years, for decades, because of the various different books with their colored plates, with uniforms and things like that. So I find it kind of interesting how it kind of went full circle, and now Osprey actually produces miniatures rules, and they've got loads and loads of miniature systems. All right, so we get an introduction. We get some kind of cool looking fantasy miniatures here. And of course, we're going to get some cool Osprey art as well. So we get a What is Wargaming section. That's right up there with the What is a Role-Playing Game? So what you need to play, so you're going to need some miniatures. I do not believe this is a skirmish level game. I think this is more full-scale armies. Well, maybe not, because it says each miniature in Oathmark represents one man or elf, goblin, troll, etc. Is usually referred to as a figure. Well, but there are more. Yeah, it's not skirmish, because it's saying, now it's not going to be huge epic battles, but it says to play the game, each player needs their own army with a minimum of about 30 figures. All right, so talking about base size, the table, terrain, dice, kingdoms and army sheets. For those of you who do not know, the old Heritage Games Knights and Magic miniatures rules are available through the Gaming Gang. I actually have the rights to them, so I do sell them in PDF. And I know it's for years we've been trying to see if we could get it updated and, you know, brought up, because it's from like 1981. Trying to bring it, you know, make it more modern and stuff. Never have time. So Omenal says that this is platoon to company size. And Osprey's history books like Zulu's was awesome. Yeah, they're historical books, which they've released. God, I got to be honest, thousands of them. It's got to be thousands. It really does. Because Ospreys have been around for a long time. They have almost always been really, really good. So we get some line of sight, setting up the table. So here we've got our units of 10. Interesting. Got the turn. We got the initiative. Talk about multiplayer games. Get some dwarves. Activation and action. So we can move. Talking about the rough terrain, woods and ruins. Movement off the table. Maneuvering. So it's Mew has joined us. Good to see you. Thanks for swinging on in, hanging out with us in chat tonight. I can tell you right now, this is a pretty rules light miniature system, at least it seems. And I have not looked at this. This is my first peek, right? You know me. When I say, hey, I'm gonna do a page through or unboxing, it really is the first time I've seen it, outside of like the cover or the back cover. But I'm going to take a stab that maybe the majority of the page count is going to be devoted to army lists. So it's Muse says, hey, gay, hey, madman. All right, so we got combat. Determine combat dice. It's pretty interesting. Kind of funny because I'm looking through this and I'm thinking, oh, hey, that's kind of what we were kind of thinking about doing for Knights and Magic. Huh, that's interesting. I mean, of course, Joseph A. McCullough has done so many games that, you know, these mechanics are old hat for him. So applying hits, removing casualties, pushback, morale tests. I got to say, in my opinion, any sort of miniatures game, I don't care if it's fantasy, if it's historical, what have you, if it's individual creatures of any kind who actually care about their survival, morale is hugely important. Morale rules, in my opinion, are like the second most important mechanic in most miniatures games. And unfortunately, there's some games where it's like, morale? What are you talking about? There's no morale. We fight to the death. It's like, get out of here. So Flaming Heron says that they loved White Dwarf magazine, just that for the pictures of the minis. Yeah, I remember I used to pick up White Dwarf all the time. And in fact, I was picking up White Dwarf back before Games Workshop became like a miniatures company. Games Workshop was kind of more along the lines of a D&D company. And then I remember I just kept picking up White Dwarf. Didn't matter. So I had a lot of the Games Workshop stuff. I bought miniatures and that. And I was like, I always kicked myself because like, why did I spend so much? So ending the game. So I know there was somebody who had commented on the community page talking about that they were very interested in how this would stack up to something like Warhammer. And I would have to take a wild stab in the dark that this is going to be far more rules light than Warhammer would be. But then again, I would also take a guess that Warhammer Age of Sigmar probably has far more like customization and specialist units. And of course, there's all the heroes that can do different things and stuff like that. So Flaming Heron says, yeah, I was doing it all back when I was a kid. Then I was into miniature games then. Still an awful painter. I'm not a terrible painter. I used to be a better painter, but that's because I painted a lot more. And I used to paint all different stuff. I used to airbrush 1/6 scale figures all the time, like movie monsters and girl kits, kind of like cheesecake kits. So we've got officers, spellcasters. splitting and joining units, monsters, magic items, strange and catastrophic events. So one of the aspects I liked about, I always thought was kind of cool about Knights and Magic was that your spellcasters did not have to necessarily be in the battle. They could actually be in their wizard's tower, you know, hundreds of miles away casting spells. But in Knights and Magic, you could easily have magic backfire and just toast your magic users. So, all right, so we got the dwarf terrain, human terrain. It's kind of strange how it's, because it's kind of basically telling you what kind of units you would encounter depending on the terrain type. That's kind of cool. Like human city, iron mines, barrens, plains, timber mills. So Manal says, as a kid, they just wanted a good war game for D&D. Yeah, unfortunately, you really didn't get that. Just like, it's funny, I'll mention it after we're done looking at these books, but I've been invited as a featured reviewer for a website that's out there. In fact, they had asked me before, and I had, to be honest, the email kind of slipped through the cracks. So I'm actually going through all my reviews on the website. In fact, I'm actually going through all of the reviews, but I'm mainly going through mine at the moment to just make sure that, you know, the images are right size and all this stuff. Just make sure that all the reviews are basically the same format, same exact format, things like that. Because you figure come September, that's going to be the beginning of year 12 of the Gaming Gang. So, of course, the website changed over the years. So it's kind of funny going through all this, and I ran across Dungeon Command, which I reviewed. I think that was the last time that Wizards of the Coast tried to do a D&D minis game, and it was just not a very good system. So here we go. So we've got our army list. So we've got humans, human general, captain, champion, spellcaster. That's kind of cool. It's like humans and orcs attacking dwarves. All right. So we've got a good number of unique units. So we got ogres, giants. So here we got our elves. So we have elf king or queen. Caesar Perez has joined us. Hello, Caesar. Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us tonight in chat. So the elf prince or princess, general, captain, champion, spellcaster, soldier, spearman, archer, warrior, line breaker, elf ranger, pathguard, cavalry, mounted ranger, hunt master. Oh, we got quite a few different elf units. Elf ballista, a lindworm. We're getting in some creatures, monsters, giant spider. So goblins and orcs. We got the spellcasters again. Very cool. Now, I had to point out that Osprey sent me the second expansion. I don't know if the first expansion to Oathmark is sold out or something. It's possible. So we've got unaligned creatures. So got some dragons. There we go. Only one kind of dragon, huh? And then the campaign. This is what I was very interested in checking out, to see what kind of campaign rules there were. So Caesar points out that they've made minis for most of the units. Isn't that through, is it North Wind I think the company is Northwind Miniatures. Or is it North Star? Maybe it's North Star. Because I know North Star does miniatures for a lot of the Osprey releases, like Dracula's America, which always sounded kind of interesting. It's a skirmish Western game, but with vampires. so, so we've got scenarios. Bridge of the River, Chance Engagement. So Caesar says, yes, it's North Star. Wind and Rain. Then we got our Appendix A. So it's talking about our special abilities. So we got a few of these. Then we got our spells. Cool. There we go. See how many spells we got. So we got a good number of spells. Have for each faction. So obviously enough. Then we got some magic items. That's nice. And we've got some roster sheets. And then we got our credits. There we go. North Star military figures. NorthstarFigures.com. Sweet. So that is Oathmark right there. Once again, this is available in hardcover, like we just paged through, for $35, or you can grab the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for $24.50. Now let's take a look at Bane of Kings, because I have the impression, and I could be completely wrong, but I've got the impression that might focus more on campaigns, because it says, time is the bane of all kings. Always does it march forward, bringing change and challenges, wars and disasters, invaders and rebellion. It is the one enemy you cannot defeat, but you must learn to weather the blows, lest your kingdom falls and your legacy is reduced to dust. So it says this supplement for Oathmark Battles of the Lost Age adds kingdom events, campaign-related occurrences which can affect a player's realm for good or ill, and special formations, new abilities, and bonuses that enhance your units, offering them new ways to fight and defeat your enemies. All right, and some other rules too. So, once again, remember this 80-page softcover is available for $25. You can get the PDF for $20 over at Drive-Thru RPG. So, first thing we're going to see here is going to be special formations. Just making sure everything's still nicely focused, since I was moving some things around. And we already know that the Panasonic G85 does not have the best autofocus around. It's a really nice camera, but the autofocus needs some work. All right, so we got our introduction. We got some more cool artwork. Special formations. So, well, we got shield walls, chariot unit, javelin storm, phalanx, square, and skirmish. Shield wall, chariots, javelin storm, phalanx, square, and skirmish. New units, animate stone, living statue, colossus. So here we go. So we got some new creatures. We got chariots, elf chariots, dwarf chariots. I wonder if dwarf chariots use goats. Like what was it? The Norse? Was it the Norse that used chariots that were pulled by goats? Humans, orcs, and goblins. Okay, so here's the kingdom events. So we've got political events, internal events, external events, natural events, magical events, and miscellaneous events. So you're going to roll a 10-sided die, and 1 to 6 gives you an event, 7 to 10 gives you nothing. And then it looks like it's just a 10-sided die. to tell you what is the event. So a political event could be a notable death or birth, a traitor, failed coup, a land purchase. So we're going to get all that information here. We got the internal events, plague, games, local celebration, horse surplus, horse shortage. Just an example of some of them. External events, we've got bandits, foreign games, requests for aid, diplomatic talks, meteor shower, a wizard's conclave. Natural events, heavy winds, floods, gopher infestation, wildflowers, mass migration. I'm surprised we don't have, well, we've got famine. I was going to say like locusts as opposed to gopher infestation. That sounds kind of odd. So we got magical events, stars align. Oh, the stars are right. Wandering wizard, traveling alchemist, possession. That's kind of wild. One of your great warriors is possessed by a spirit. Perhaps this was an intentional move and the spirit was summoned forth by your wizards or priests, or perhaps it was an accident, magical mistake. That's kind of cool. And we got miscellaneous events. Artillery innovation, goblin slaves, pack of hounds, secret path, breath of the knuckler. You've received a strange item, a glass orb containing the trapped poisonous breath of a knuckler, which I believe was one of the monsters. So Kringle has joined us in chat. Hello. Welcome aboard. I believe this is your first visit with us. So so anyone know what channel was that lore he said he listened to on supernatural stuff? Lore is a podcast. So all you got to do, go to Google and go do a search for Lore Podcast. Perfect. Easily find it. So Kevin R. Smith has joined us. Good to see you, Kevin. Says, I wonder if the gopher infestation is a nod to Caddyshack. I don't know. Because I got to be honest, I don't know how popular Caddyshack might be in the UK. So we got military expeditions. So we've got some interesting looking kind of fluff in here, although I'm sure a lot of those events have something, a mechanical sort of event that takes place. So we've got some new scenarios. Military expedition, Palace of the Ice Queen. So this is actually kind of like a campaign. So yes, Kringle, you're very welcome. I will point out, if you've never listened to Lore, gosh, now I can't remember the host's name, and that is Aaron Lemke. He has a unique delivery that takes a little getting used to, but give the show a chance. It's actually it's super popular now. I started listening to it when it first began. So we got winter events. We have new unique territories. The prison of the Ice Queen. New general spells. Sweet. We got some new spells here. New special abilities. Unthinking. Yeah, that's me. All right. And we got our credits once again. Very cool. Oh, hey. So I saw the credit for illustrator was only Alan Lathwell on the drive-thru website. And I guess Jan Pospisil is also an illustrator. So we got to give credit where credit is due. So Caesar mentions that Joseph A. McCullough is an American who moved to the UK after college. Sweet. Nice. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, we don't know. The gopher infestation. Maybe one day I'll get to interview Joseph, and I'll ask him. That'll be my big question. That'll be my big question. I'll be like, so you got to tell me. It's like, go for Infestation and Bane of Kings. Inspired by Caddyshack. All right, so that is Oathmark, Bane of Kings, and Oathmark, Battles of the Lost Age. Both of these are from Osprey Games. And of course, look forward to reviews of both of these. I'll probably review them in one video in the very near future. Very cool. It's pretty interesting. Might be a replacement for some people as far as Warhammer. I don't know. So Caesar says, yeah, that'll be the question. So Joseph, I need to ask. In all seriousness. All right, very, very cool. So what's cooking on Wednesday's show? Wednesday's show, we are going to open up the Swords and Wizardry Complete box set and do a page through of this. If you have seen my review of Swords and Wizardry Complete, definitely like that a lot. I think it's very, very cool. You know, OSR, fantasy role-playing game. Really dig it. Although, I am kind of curious to see if some of the... I want to see if there's been a little more editing done. That's what I'm kind of curious. I'm wondering if this is just simply... Because the big thing right now is booklets, right? So everybody wants to release their booklets. Old School Essentials release their really cool books. And of course, now everybody's like, well, guess we got to do that now. So I'm kind of curious if this has been edited, if we've got a bit of a change in it, or if it's simply just been lifted from the book. And it's like, okay, well, so the rules go here in this booklet, monsters go in this booklet, treasures go in this booklet. But we're also going to take a look at the accessory pack. And the accessory pack includes a little Game Master screen, which you can tell it's not going to be too tall. I think they're saying it's a referee screen. More monsters and an adventure of the Baron's Gambit. So we're going to take a look at all of this on Wednesday's show. Unless I'm too tired from cardiovascular rehab. That won't happen. So, Kringle says, nice. Love some Swords and Wizardry. I was going to mention that the Hyperborea Kickstarter has come to completion. Once again, I am going to send out a big thank you to JP Falconer Honor, JPF, for actually essentially purchasing the Kickstarter for Hyperborea for me to review. So kind of sweet. Very cool. Kevin says Frog God includes some extra room in the box for other booklets, or so I heard. Well, I can tell that there's space in here. So just hear me out. And I'm not knocking Frog God Games at all. So is it room for more booklets, or is it just like empty air? You know, that's what I'm kind of curious, right? Oh, well, it's not like filled to the brim. Let's just tell everybody that, we left space for extra booklets. Although I know these have two little booklets. So, all right. Anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. Let's see. So the Madman says that they were kind of interested in Oathmark, but then they'd want to buy all the minis that go with it. See, that was one of the things that I ran into was like, I'm buying all this like I was buying Warhammer 40K stuff and Epic stuff. I really liked Epic. We played a lot of Epic, and for those little 6mm figures, they were a ripoff. I mean, it was like, jeez. Which they were expensive back in the day, and then when they had them again, they were even more expensive. Like, oh my gosh, can't believe it. So, so Kevin says they didn't get a box set because they forgot to do the fulfillment survey. Huh. So Omanal says it's Smythe binding for the books, and that Frog God should advertise that more. So, yes. Caesar points out it's like a Doritos bag, right? There's more room for more Doritos in there. Christopher Rush has popped into chat. Good to see you, Christopher. Thanks for swinging on in. Christopher says it's space for more dice. Kevin says, I guess it's empty here unless you put more booklets in it. Supposedly they're coming out with more booklet supplements. Just like you may have caught my review of Mazes, which is from 9th Level Games, and it's kind of an OSR, but it's with their like one die kind of system. I liked it. I thought it was cool. They released it in little booklets, and they had a box set, but they were out of boxes. So they just sent me the booklets to do the review. And supposedly, now I haven't heard anything because they said they'd let me know. They were going to do a Kickstarter to put it all in a hardcover. So Christopher says, note cards, dice, pencils, small notebook. I prefer more space in a box than the ones that are too small. So Omanal says the Kickstarter should advertise the Smythe binding rather than glued. Gotcha. So Caesar says that they bought some of the North Star minis, but they hadn't gotten the book. Huh. Cool. Okay, it's kind of, well, I don't know. I picked up miniatures without any specific system. Used to do that quite a bit. Now I just tend to utilize the miniatures that come in a bunch of games. Because I've got quite a few. All right. Anyway, like I said, Wednesday, stay tuned. We are going to be taking a look at Swords and Wizardry Complete the Box Set from Frog God Games. Plus, if you have not checked out my interview with Mark Greenberg, we talk about Necropolis for 5e. That was a pretty good interview. That was a pretty fun interview. All righty. So yeah, I think we're all caught up in chat, I think we're good. So Christopher says, I love me a good box set. So do I. And I am looking forward to Hyperborea, the 3rd edition. Once again, big thanks to JPF, which supposedly that should go out in December to backers. So we will find out. But I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I think they were talking PDFs maybe in August. Don't know, August, September time. We'll see. See what happens. Okay, so that is it for this time out. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't. If you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the dispatch airs live right here on YouTube, also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of Pathfinder Lost Omens, the Moangai Expanse, good stuff from Paizo Inc. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest news, reviews, and more. And don't forget, it's week 2 of the Gaming Gang game auction. Got new goodies up. Check them out. Anyway, those of you who are watching live, thank you very much. It looks like we had a pretty good chat going tonight. We had quite a few people hanging out. Always appreciate that. I appreciate anybody spending time keeping me company so I'm not just babbling on into the ether. But I do know there are a lot of people out there who don't have an opportunity to watch live. For an example, I'll say hello to Bane. Bane out there doesn't get a chance to catch the show live, so I'll say a special hello. But who knows? Maybe you're watching on Memorex. Regardless, thank you to all of you out there for taking time out of your busy lives to hang out with me. Of course, I will be back on Wednesday. Once again, as I mentioned, we'll be taking a look at some Swords and Wizardry releases. But until then, here's hoping that each and every one of you gets to enjoy a lot of great gaming with your very own gang. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're kicking it, how about subscribing to the Gaming Gang channel? Or seeing the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch? Or finding out what YouTube recommends you check out here at my channel? And of course, don't forget, get your geek on at thegaminggang.com.